Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Nawreen. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Michigan governor signs red flag gun law as questions linger over enforcement. U.S. Senator Tim Scott launches campaign for president. U.S. signs new security pact with Papua New Guinea amid competition with China. Breakthrough proposal would aid drought-stricken Colorado River as 3 western states offer cuts. Suspect stands silent in slayings of 4 Idaho College students. Judge enters not guilty pleas. Nebraska governor signs 12-week abortion ban, limits on gender-affirming care for minors. Meta fined record 1.3 billion and ordered to stop sending European user data to US. China bars operators from buying chips from US tech firm Micro. SpaceX sends Saudi astronauts, including first Arab Oman, to ISS. Pakistan rearrests Imran Khan's key associate amid crackdown on his followers. Russia alleges border incursion by Ukrainian saboteurs. Kiev claims they are disgruntled Russians. 3 Palestinian militants killed in Israeli West Bank raid. US slams latest settlement expansion. Irish actor Ray Stevenson of Rome and Thor movies dies at 58. Kopka gets another major win at PGA. Liv gets a major champion. Carmelo Anthony retires from NBA after 19-year career, NCAA title, 3 Olympic gold medals. And Alcaraz jumps Djokovic, returns to number 1 in ATP rankings, Medvedev number 2, Swiatek leads WTA. You were listening to headlines, now news in detail. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer gave final approval Monday afternoon to a red flag law that aims to keep firearms away from those at risk of harming themselves or others as the state grapples with ways to slow gun violence in the wake of its second mass school shooting. Michigan joined Minnesota as the second state in under a week to implement a red flag law after Democrats in both states won control of both chambers and the governor's office in November. New Mexico previously was the last state to pass a red flag law in 2020. Whitmer signed the legislation just outside of Detroit, flanked by state lawmakers and individuals affected by gun violence. Former Arizona Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who began campaigning for gun safety after she was shot in the head in 2011, was also in attendance. The new law, also known as Extreme Risk Protection Orders, is expected to go into effect next spring. It will allow family members, police, mental health professionals, roommates, and former dating partners to petition a judge to remove firearms from those they believe pose an imminent threat to themselves or others. United States Senator Tim Scott has officially launched a campaign for the 2024 Republican nomination for president, joining a growing list of candidates seeking the White House next year. Scott focused on his personal story in his speech announcing his candidacy on Monday, portraying his rise from humble beginnings to the U.S. Senate, where he currently serves as the sole black Republican, as evidence that America is the land of opportunity and not a land of oppression. Scott told the story of his grandfather, who was born in 1921 and was forced out of school early to pick cotton but lived on to see the senator elected to Congress. That's the evolution of the country we live in. My family went from cotton to Congress in a lifetime, he said from his home state of South Carolina. With his announcement, Scott joins former President Donald Trump, ex-US envoy to the United Nations Nikki Haley, and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, amongst others, in the race for the Republican nomination. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is also expected to launch a presidential campaign soon. Various public opinion polls have shown Trump as the front-runner in the Republican field, with DeSantis as a clear, albeit distant, second. The primaries will kick off in Iowa early next year. The United States signed a new security pact with Papua New Guinea on Monday as it competes with China for influence in the Pacific. Papua New Guinea's location just north of Australia makes it strategically significant. It was the site of fierce battles during World War II, and with a population of nearly 10 million people, it's the most populous Pacific island nation. The State Department said the new agreement provides a framework to help improve security cooperation, enhance the capacity of Papua New Guinea's defense force, and increase regional stability. The full agreement will be made public once politicians in both countries have an opportunity for input, likely in a couple of months. The work that we are doing together to try to shape the future could not be more important, could not be more timely, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told reporters. We are deeply invested in the Indo-Pacific because our planet's future is being written here. Papua New Guinea is playing a critical role in shaping that future. Papua New Guinea Prime Minister James Marape said the pact is mutually beneficial and secures our national interest in becoming a robust economy in this part of the world. But the agreement sparked student protest in the second largest city, Lae, and many in the Pacific are concerned about the increasing militarization of the region. Arizona, California, and Nevada on Monday proposed a plan to significantly reduce their water use from the drought-stricken Colorado River over the next 3 years, a potential breakthrough in a year-long stalemate that pitted western states against one another. The plan would conserve an additional 3 million acre-feet of water through 2026, when current guidelines for how the river is shared expire. About half the cuts would come by the end of 2024. That's less than what federal officials said last year would be needed to stave off crisis in the river amid a years-long drought, but still marks a notable step in drawn-out and difficult negotiations between the three states. The 1,450-mile river provides water to 40 million people in 7 states in the U.S. West, parts of Mexico, and more than 24 Native American tribes. It's responsible for producing hydropower and supplying water to farms that grow most of the nation's winter vegetables. In exchange for temporarily using less water, cities, irrigation districts, and Native American tribes in the 3 states will receive federal funding, though officials did not say how much money they expected to receive. Though adoption of the plan isn't certain, U.S. Bureau of Reclamation Commissioner Camille Touton called it an important step forward. She said the Bureau will pull back its proposal from last month that could have resulted in sidestepping the existing water priority system to force cuts as it analyzes the 3-state plan. The Bureau's earlier proposal, if adopted, could have led to a messy and drawn-out legal battle. The 3 states, which form the lower basin, are entitled to 7.5 million acre-feet of water altogether from the river. An acre-foot of water is roughly enough to serve 2 to 3 US households annually. A judge entered not guilty pleas Monday for a man charged in the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students, setting the stage for a trial in which he could potentially face the death penalty. The November 13, 2022 killings stunned the rural community of Moscow, Idaho, and prompted many students to leave campus early, switching to remote learning for the remainder of the semester. Brian Koberger was arrested late last year and charged with burglary and 4 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the slayings of Madison Morgan, Kaylee Goncalves, Jana Kernodle, and Eden Chapin at a rental home near the University of Idaho campus. Koberger declined to enter pleas in Leyte County District Court, with his defense attorney Annie Taylor telling the judge that they were going to stand silent at this time. In response, Second District Judge John Judge entered not guilty pleas on Koberger's behalf. Koberger also declined to waive his right to a speedy trial, so the judge scheduled it to begin October 2. It's still possible that the trial, expected to last 6 weeks, could be delayed or moved to a different location. Koberger was a graduate student studying criminology at nearby Washington State University when the University of Idaho students were killed, but prosecutors have not released any information about how they believe he may have chosen the victims or whether he had met any of them previously. Republican Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen signed a bill Monday that bans abortion at 12 weeks of pregnancy and restricts gender-affirming medical care for people younger than 19. The abortion ban takes effect immediately, while the ban on gender-affirming care takes effect on October 1. The hybrid measure ties together restrictions that Republicans have pursued across the U.S. Pillen called the law the most significant win for social conservative agenda in over a generation of Nebraska before he signed the law while holding a 5-day-old baby as his 2 oldest granddaughters stood next to him. It's about protecting our kids and saving babies, pure and simple, Pillen said. Nebraska had not passed a new abortion ban since 2010, when it became the first state to limit the procedure at around 20 weeks of pregnancy. The 12-week ban includes exceptions for rape, incest, and to save the life of the mother. The law also will prevent transgender people under 19 from receiving any gender-confirming surgery. It restricts the use of hormone treatments and puberty blockers in minors, putting the state's chief medical officer, a political appointee who is an ear, nose, and throat doctor, in charge of setting the rules for those therapies. In Nebraska, people younger than 19 are considered minors. The European Union slapped Meta with a record $1.3 billion privacy fine Monday and ordered it to stop transferring users' personal information across the Atlantic by October, the latest salvo in a decade-long case sparked by US cyber-snooping fears. The penalty of €1.2 billion is the biggest since the EU's strict data privacy regime took effect 5 years ago, surpassing Amazon's €746 million fine in 2021 for data protection violations. Meta, which had previously warned that services for its users in Europe could be cut off, vowed to appeal and ask courts to immediately put the decision on hold. The company said there is no immediate disruption to Facebook in Europe. The decision applies to user data like names, email and IP addresses, messages, viewing history, geolocation data, and other information that Meta and other tech giants like Google use for targeted online ads. Now it's time for global updates. China's cyberspace regulator says that products made by US memory chip maker Microtechnology Incorporation have failed its network security review, and it would bar operators of key infrastructure from making purchases from the company. The decision, announced on Sunday amid a dispute over chip technology between Washington and Beijing, could include sectors ranging from telecoms to transport and finance, according to China's broad definition of critical information infrastructure. The review found that Micro's products have serious network security risks, which pose significant security risks to China's critical information infrastructure supply chain, affecting China's national security, the Cyberspace Administration of China said in a statement. A private rocket carrying the first Arab woman astronaut has blasted off on a mission to the International Space Station. Rana Barnawi, a breast cancer researcher, is the first Saudi woman to voyage into space and is joined on the mission by fellow Saudi Ali Al-Kurdi, a fighter pilot. The Axiom mission 2 crew took off aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral at 5:37 p.m. on Sunday. The team also includes Peggy Whitson, a former NASA astronaut who will be making her fourth flight to the ISS, and John Schaffner, a businessman from Tennessee, who is piloting. Thanks for putting your trust in the Falcon 9 team, SpaceX Chief Engineer Bill Gerstenmaier told the crew minutes after liftoff. Hope you enjoyed the ride to space. Have a great trip on Dragon, he added, referring to the spacecraft. Welcome home to Zero G, Peggy. The capsule docked at the ISS around 9:25 a.m. yesterday. The crew is due to spend around 10 days on board the ISS. Pakistani authorities Monday arrested a key associate of former Prime Minister Imran Khan just hours after she was released from custody as authorities pressed on with a crackdown on Khan's supporters. Shirin Mazari, who served as Rights Minister under Khan during his 2018 to 2022 term in office, was arrested last Thursday in the capital Islamabad on charges of inciting people to violence. She was released Monday on a court order but was again taken into custody hours later. Mazari has been a vocal critic of Pakistan's military and the government of Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, who replaced Khan after his ouster in a no-confidence vote in Parliament in April 2022. Authorities began a crackdown after Khan's supporters attacked public property and military installations following his arrest this month. Mazari's daughter Iman Mazari had petitioned a high court, arguing that her mother's arrest was unlawful. She said the Lahore High Court ordered her mother's release on Monday. Russian officials claimed that Ukrainian military saboteurs launched an attack across the border Monday, wounding 8 people in a small town. Kiev officials denied any link with the group and blamed the fighting on a revolt by disgruntled Russians against the Kremlin. Neither version of events could be independently verified in an area that has witnessed a sporadic spillover from the almost 15-month war in Ukraine. The governor of Russia's Belgorod region, which borders Ukraine, said that a Ukrainian armed forces saboteur group entered the town of Grayburn, about 5 kilometers from the border. The town also came under Ukrainian artillery fire, he said. Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said 8 people were wounded and most residents had left the area, but the situation remained tense. In nearby Demotsy village, a projectile hit a kindergarten and caused a fire. One woman was wounded in her hand, Gladkov said. He also reported that Russian anti-aircraft systems shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle over Belgorod region. 3 Palestinian militants were killed in an Israeli army raid in a West Bank refugee camp early Monday. Palestinian officials said, while the Biden administration sharply condemned Israel's latest act of settlement expansion. The Palestinian Health Ministry said the three men were killed during a raid in Balata, a refugee camp near the city of Nablus. 6 people were wounded, including one who was in critical condition, the ministry said. The Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades, a militant group with connections to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas' Fateh Party, identified the men killed as its members. The army confirmed the raid, saying troops came under fire and killed 3 Palestinians. 3 others were arrested there, the army said. Israel has stepped up raids over the past year in response to a spate of Palestinian attacks and said Monday's operations netted weapons and an explosives manufacturing operation in a home, which it detonated. Meanwhile, the Biden administration issued a sharply worded statement on Sunday, criticizing Israel for moving to re-establish a settlement at the formerly evacuated outpost of Homesh in northern West Bank. Ray Stevenson, the Irish actor who played the villainous British governor in RRR, an Asgardian warrior in the Thor films and a member of the 13th Legion in HBO's Rome, has died. He was 58. Representatives for Stevenson told the Associated Press that he died Sunday but had no other details to share on Monday. Stevenson was born in Lisburn in 1964. After attending the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School and years of working in British television, he made his film debut in Paul Greengrass's 1998 film The Theory of Flight in 2004. He appeared in Anthony Fuqua's King Arthur as a Knight of the Round Table and several years later played the lead in the pre-Disney Marvel adaptation Punisher: Warzone. Though Punisher was not the best reviewed film, he got another taste of Marvel in the first 3 Thor films, in which he played Volstagg. Other prominent film roles included the Divergent trilogy, G.I. Joe: Retaliation, and The Transporter: Refueled. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,318.85. The NYSE Composite is decreased by 5.47 points or 0.04%. Tokyo stock close price is 31,086.82. The Nikkei 225 index is increased by 278.47 points or 0.90%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,296.4696. The Shanghai index is increased by 12.93 points or 0.39%. Hong Kong stock close price is 19,678.17. The Hang Seng index is increased by 227.60 points or 1.17%. Bombay stock close price is 61,963.68. The Sensex index is increased by 234.00 points or 0.38%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Brooks Koepka outdueled Victor Hovland and Scottie Scheffler on Sunday to win the PGA Championship for his 5th major title, giving Saudi-backed LIV Golf a milestone major triumph. The 33-year-old American captured his 3rd PGA Championship and became the first player to win a major while with LIV, firing a 3-under par 67 to finish 72 holes at Oak Hill on 9-under 271. That was good enough 42-stroke triumph over Norway's Hovland and American Scheffler, who became the new world number one. Australia's Cam Davis and American Kurt Kitayama shared fourth on 277 with another leaf player, American Bryson DeChambeau. Carmelo Anthony, the star forward who led Syracuse to an NCAA championship in his lone college season and went on to spend 19 years in the NBA, announced his retirement on Monday. Anthony, who was not in the NBA this season, retires as the number 9 scorer in league history. Only LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Dirk Nowitzki, Wilt Chamberlain, and Shaquille O'Neal scored more than Anthony, who finishes his career with 28,289 points. Now the time has come for me to say goodbye to the game that gave me purpose and pride, Anthony said in a videotaped message announcing his decision, one he called bittersweet. Anthony's legacy has long been secure. He ends his playing days after being selected as one of the 75 greatest players in NBA history, a 10-time All-Star, a past scoring champion, and a 6-time All-NBA selection. Carlos Alcaraz replaced Novak Djokovic at number 1 in the ATP rankings on Monday, earning the top seeding at the French Open, and Daniil Medvedev's Italian Open title moved him up to number 2, ahead of the year's second Grand Slam tournament. Djokovic's loss in the fourth round as the defending champion in Rome dropped him to number 3. That means he and Alcaraz could end up in the same half of the Roland Garros bracket and be set up for a potential semi-final showdown, depending on what happens in Thursday's draw in Paris. The French Open, which begins on Sunday, will mark the first chance to be seeded number 1 at a major tournament for Alcaraz, a Spaniard who turned 20 this month. He is 30 for 3 with 4 titles in 2023. Alcaraz ascended to the ATP's top spot for the first time by winning the US Open last September and at 19 became the youngest man to finish a year there. But a leg injury kept him out of the Australian Open in January, when Djokovic won the title for his 22nd at a Slam event, tying Rafael Nadal for the men's record. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest update. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BT Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.